Hey everyone, welcome to my talk, Unique Mindset Hacking with zseano. Thank you for attending. I hope you're enjoying the day so far, and I hope you enjoy my talk. I'm just going to be talking about 6 interesting findings that I found over the years of being a web app hacker. And yeah, I hope you enjoy. So very quickly, who am I? My name's Sean, and I go by the alias zseano online. For those of you who don't know me, I mainly focus on web app hacking and mobile apps and things like that. That's my main focus. So if you do invite me to something like a blockchain program, I probably won't accept it. I spend most of my time participating in bug bounty programs, and I'm currently working on a new training platform, which I know a lot of you are eager to check out and get your hands on my methodology and things like that. Um, which brings me to some updates on that. So, like I said, I keep getting a lot of messages with people asking me how you're getting on, when's it coming out. I did intend on having it out relatively now, if I'm honest. There's been some issues with certain things that haven't been in my control. I am working on it. Things are going to be released soon. Hopefully, and yeah, hopefully you enjoy it. So yeah, just keep an eye out for that on my Twitter. So we'll get to the talk and the content because I know that's why everyone's here listening. I believe questions will be on Discord. I'm not quite sure if I'm honest, but yeah. If you do have any questions during this talk, just feel free to reach out to me as usual on Twitter, of course. So, first bug is going to be 2 pieces to the puzzle. So there was an IDOR bug in front of everyone. You basically had to work out how to grab each parameter, and the result was yeah an IDOR. No verification means I'm you. So basically, when you're signing up to websites and they don't actually force you to verify your account email, that can lead to some interesting bugs. New features for money equals bugs. This is usually for companies when they're making new features for generating some revenue, testing out some features and things. This can mean rush code, and it usually means some bugs. Developers love to verify things, right? That's pretty self-explanatory. We all know developers love to sanitize user input and verify things. Just keep it simple. I'm gonna say a lot. Somebody commented on my YouTube video once saying you say a lot and things like that. Yeah, it's me. I'm not gonna edit this. I'm literally just sitting in front of my laptop. I'm just gonna record this fresh and raw and give it to Ben, and that's it. So I'm saying a lot. Feel free to count, whatever. And API docs are friends. So I always say JavaScript files are friends, Google's friends, things like that. I'm going to teach you why API docs are also your friends, and you should read them and just kind of find out what this website's trying to tell developers and how things work, really. So yeah, let's get straight into it, really. Let's get straight to the content because that's why we're all here. So 2 pieces to the puzzle: a critical IDOR in front of you. Now, when I do release my methodology eventually, you'll learn that part of my flow is always testing for the opting in and out. Now this can mean for newsletters, updates, anything. There's all types of opting in and out on websites. Now I don't know why. I guess it's part of my flow. I don't know. It's just one of those go-to things that I always want to test. It's just part of my hacker flow, I guess. I don't know. So in this case, I noticed when opting in, there was 2 parameters, just an integer value and an encrypted value. However, the interesting thing that caught my eye was my full email was on the page. Now, when you're actually participating in bug bounty programs, I always feel like you should think like a bad hacker, but then act like a good hacker and obviously report it. Now, when you're thinking like a bad hacker and you're looking for bugs and you're looking for interesting functionality, you have to consider, well, what does a bad hacker want out of this website when they're looking for vulnerabilities? They want to grab data, they want to get company information and things like this. So the fact that I could see my full email on the page and it was controlled by parameters from what I gathered was interesting to me because I'm thinking if I can get these parameters for other users, can I get their email? So the testing begins. So I simply changed 1 to 2 and yeah, it failed. I got an error message, didn't work. Now at this point, I want to see okay, well, what about this working URL? Does it work on another account or is it going to give me an error? Now in this case, it was success. So I tried visiting the opt-in URL from account A on account B and I could see account A's email. That was a tongue twister, I got there. So I'm thinking in my head, okay, so anyone can view this. There's no session tied to this. There's nothing. It's just these parameters which are controlling it, and you're going to opt in this email. So I'm now thinking, okay, changing the number doesn't work, but what does this encrypted value do? So a lot of my flow is to use the site exactly how it's intended to be used, and I'll write down notes of any interesting parameters, parameter names, values, things like this, just because I can always refer back to it. So in this case, I refer back to my notes, and I remembered when leaving feedback for a user, there was a weird looking encrypted value to define the profile ID. And which I thought was interesting. It's just me. I just wrote it down. In this case, it came back and helped me. So I figured, okay, so when I leave feedback for a user, I can grab their encrypted ID, but what about the normal ID, the integer value? How could I get that? Now, it did cross my mind to sit there and brute force it. So obviously, if I picked my victim, I can then try from 1 to whatever number and eventually get their email potentially. But that's kind of a long shot. That's long-winded, and that's, if I'm honest, is going to be my last resort if I can't find anything really. And it lowers the impact as well because the attack complexity for the attacker, it's heightened, isn't it? It's a bit harder to actually get mass users' details. So I used the site again as normal. Was looking around at things, and I noticed when if you so I left some feedback and grabbed the ID, and then I noticed when deleting the feedback, an integer value was used. So I'm like, hang on a second here. So literally, all I can do now is leave feedback for the user and obtain their encrypted ID, delete feedback for the user that I've just left, and then obtain the integer value, and then simply visit the opt-in URL with both of those values, and I have that user's email. And yes, there is going to be Lucio memes in this presentation. So that was, do you know what I mean, a critical bug right in front of anyone, because I can simply pick any user, grab both the values I need, and then reveal the email address linked to that account. And on a mass scale, there was a lot of users vulnerable to this. That's, in my opinion, why I rated it critical. A lot of information. So, next bug. No verification means I'm you. Now, again, with my flow, when signing up on websites, I'll always test how they actually handle signing up with their email address. So if the company was at hacker1.com, you'd sign up with Sean at hacker1.com and see, do they verify me to prove I own this email? Because you'll find a lot of websites, if they don't, they sometimes will whitelist these accounts for certain things. So you might get some extra features, some interesting headers in response. Do you know what I mean? The list goes on, really. It's always something you should always test and just have a little poke around and see what's what. Sometimes it can even be used to bypass rate limits, believe it or not, because they will see, oh, it's somebody that works at our company, and they give it, like I say, special access. Sometimes it's not as obvious as you think, and sometimes, and I've just gone ahead there one, sometimes also, if you find like staging domains when you visit them and they look exactly like the main domain and you're thinking, well, there's nothing different here, try the company emails there, because it's a staging domain, developer domain. Sometimes it might have some extra features, and yeah. So in this case, there was the website allowed me to claim a page, and to claim the page, my account email had to be at whitelisted domain. So on all these pages, they had a whitelisted domain for whoever created this page. And if you wanted, so let's say for example again, HackerOne created a page, they would say, well, hacker1.com is our domain, and they would verify it. So then if somebody came along like Ben and he wanted to join it, he would have to sign up with Ben at hacker1.com and then prove he was basically ownership of this domain. There was no way to actually discover this domain either, so you kind of maybe had to guess based on the company's name, which could have caused some issues for some companies, but on a grand scale of things, I want to make this work better, basically. So I simply tried just the main domain, like I say, sometimes get special access, and it gave me a success. It enabled me to begin the process to claim, basically. So imagine the scenario: you sign up with your normal Gmail email, it won't show you the claim button. So it basically detects, okay, you don't have an email to start the claim, so it doesn't let you claim it. However, if you signed up with the main company's domain, the claim button appeared. Thinking about it, I probably should have just tested whether the API call worked. You always think of things after, don't you? But yeah. So, like it says here that to basically you've started the claim process, but after that it says it's going to send me an email. I have previously disclosed this on a blog post, which I will shout out at some point during this talk. But there was a input box which basically had your email, and it said press send or cancel to check your email. So I thought to myself, well, okay, I don't actually have access to this email. I mean, I could try the ticket trick and grab an email, but it might not work. So it's still interesting that the main domain was whitelisted. To me, I'm thinking, okay, there's definitely more here, and this account's definitely got access to do more and things. And I also found it interesting that when pressing claim and starting the process, it didn't automatically send an email to your account. It listed the email that it was gonna send an email to, but it didn't automatically send it. You had to press send or cancel. So I'm now thinking in my head, if I simply leave this page open and open a new tab and go to my account settings and change my email and then press send, is it going to use the value that's on the page, which is showing me, or am I going to get lucky and it's going to use the email that's tied to my account, which I've just changed to one that I control? I should have just pressed next on the presentation there. So, like I say, if you thought the same, well done, Mr. Leet Hacker, because yeah, it used the email tied to my account email, like my main account, rather than the email it was showing me on the claim page. So by changing it to an account that I controlled, it sent an email saying, hey, you want to claim ownership of this page? And I was able to gain access. Literally nothing more to that one, really. And yeah, another Lucio meme. So, next bug. New features for revenue generation usually equals bugs. So you'll find a lot of companies, do you know what I mean, take security out of this and think of a company, how they are operating. They have lots of teams who are coming up with ideas to create new features, new whatever, basically, to generate some income, to see if people like it, subscribe, and things like that. And sometimes you'll see these features disappear, hence why you should always check for changes, because if code disappears, certain endpoints might still exist and legacy code begins, basically. So, in this case, yeah, like I say, really should keep pressing next on my presentations before talking so much. So that says there, new features are often released to generate revenue. And like I say, do you ever check the stocks of the site you're testing or the news? Do you keep up to date with the features and things that they're planning? Because if you keep up to date with stocks, then potentially they're going to start releasing extra features to try and bring in some money. And yeah, new features is rush code, maybe bugs. It's been proven, trust me. Yeah. So, in this specific case, I noticed code had been released to run a specific type of new ad for just your account. So you could promote your account to lots of other people. And these ads were new. I'm not going to name the company, but yeah, I checked basically up-to-date news and I saw that they weren't generating as much money. Yeah, maybe that's not why they created this, but I don't know. I just put two and two together with certain things. So, when purchasing, part of my flow is to always test for how they handle sandboxed credit card details. Now, you can Google for sandboxed credit card details, and you've got SagePay, PayPal's website, there's other websites out there. Now, the reason for this is a lot of websites will either use third-party payment processors or they'll try to do it in-house. Now, sometimes they'll forget to turn off sandbox credit cards, and you can a sandbox credit card basically will always return true. Yes, paid, whatever, even though you haven't, because it's a sandbox credit card. So in this case, I tried to buy some ads for my account with a test credit card, and it failed. The end. We'll move on. No, I'm kidding. So another part of the flow is to always test for how other countries and languages are basically handled on a company, because the bigger the company, the different teams, different code bases for different languages. For example, if they're based in China, they might have a complete different team for Chinese web app and things like that, which has new code, and it might actually use the code for the .com website. So I simply changed my country, in this case, to a foreign country, and suddenly, to pay for my ads, I could put a bank in there. I could put my account number and sort code, IBAN and BIC, whatever it was. And I'm like, okay, interesting. Again, this is from simply using the site as intended. I'm not running special tools for any of these bugs. I'm simply looking at what is in front of me. I'm pressing buttons and monitoring and seeing what's going on. So I changed to a foreign country, and suddenly I tried the sandbox bank information, which is available again on Google, and success. It allowed me to run free ads to my account. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now, in this case, I feel like a lot of companies will feel like it's low impact. You're not grabbing user data, you're not affecting their business as such. They're probably going to say they have things in place to detect this, and they'll ban your account and you won't be able to do it. So, low business impact. So, I carried on. So I go back to the start and I'm like, okay, so I can change my country to a bank and it does work. I want to understand more of this. So why does this work for not a sandbox credit card, and what happens? So when I went back to the flow, I noticed you actually have to search for your account first. Well, your account was in the search box, but you could click a little X and search for another account. And I'm presuming this is if you have two accounts, your tied accounts, things like that. I presume you can link your account. So I thought to myself, what happens if I just try search for my other account and try the same? Is it going to let me run ads for their account? And if so, does that introduce any other interesting functionality, or is it just simply something else that's low business impact, I guess? So, the only thing here is I was actually granted full access to the account I was testing against, which is obviously my account. So imagine the scenario here. I have an input box, and my account was pre-made in. It was pre-inputted in there. And I click the X and I search for my other account. I click run ad. I input the sandbox bank information, and it allowed me to run the ads, but then it actually logged me into my other account. So I was out of account A and I was now in account B, and I was like, wait, what? And yeah, verified it, clicked on my profile, and yeah, I was in that user's account. So it actually led to full account takeover. Yeah. On to the next bug. I feel like I'm getting through these very quickly. So developers love to verify things, right? So you'll often see, this isn't to do with XSS, by the way, because I know developers really love to sanitize user input. So in this case, I could see that I could add another team member via email. And accepting was as simple as visiting the URL that you received, and that was it. And we've all seen this on lots of websites where you just click the URL and whatever action was meant to happen happens. There's no prompt. There's no, are you sure this is what's about to happen? Should you continue? And I always find when you get those features where there's no extra confirmation, just note them down, remember them, because they may come in handy for potentially changing some XSS and things like that. And also potentially lack of cross-site crest forgery tokens. So I invited my third account, but I thought, what happens if I actually accept it on my other account? Now, this is something you should always test when you're able to invite another account, just whatever the feature is. Don't accept on the main account, accept it on another account. Like, don't even interact it with the account that was actually invited. So it'll stay like a valid URL, won't it? Try it simply on the fourth account, because it might work. And in this case, it did. So this was a scenario. I can add other team members via email, and it would create an invite to this email, and they would get an email saying, hey, so-and-so has invited you to their team. Press this button to accept and join their team now. And it would add them to my team. However, if I invited test@zseano.com, but I accepted it on sean@hackerone.com, then sean@hackerone.com email was leaked, and it created a new pending invite for this email, which actually didn't actually exist. It couldn't actually accept it, so it wasn't actually added to my team. Their email was just added to my invite list, even though I didn't invite them, basically. So yeah, that's a bit of business application logic, because obviously I don't know what was going on with that one really, because it was a bit of a weird one. So just keep it simple. In this case, I noticed every type of feature used a weird looking encrypted value when referencing any type of ID. So imagine you were adding someone, you were messaging someone, interacting with anything on this website, encrypted ID. I could tell they were ID because the parameter name had the ID. Now, this is something else that's important to note, that when you're testing, that some developers will try to do security through obscurity, where basically they make it look like things are encrypted and tough to basically put you off and you don't want to mess around with this. But if the parameter names don't follow the same suit, then you can kind of guess and work out what's going on here. So yeah, I could see it was profile ID, tag ID, thread ID, things like that. So I was like, okay, these are obviously just numbers, references in database. Let's see what happens basically. So my first thing when I see these is I will always look in, like say, JavaScript files, every single endpoint and feature I can find, just to see if there's any references to certain words like encrypt, decrypt, things. Obviously, I look for parameter names like profile ID and things like that. But everything, in my opinion, on this website looked very secure. I couldn't find any references to find out what this ID, how to decrypt this ID, or how to grab this ID. I couldn't do anything with it really. So yeah, sad Lucio face. So I actually almost give up on this bug, and I found this bug not so long ago on an even bigger website. But I thought to myself, why not just try an integer value? Why, like I say, just keep it simple. Like, let's just forget about the encrypted values. It says profile ID equals encrypted. What about if I just put profile ID equals 1? Is it actually still going to interact? Because the way I imagine this happening behind the scenes is it would take the encrypted value, decrypt it to a number or some sort of, I don't know, I was going to say MD5 hash there, but probably not, but some sort of value. And on the off chance they were using just numbers, maybe I can get lucky here. So I quickly queried for my account details, and there was my encrypted ID, and I simply changed it to just a 1. Instead of trying to grab that ID from anyone else's profile and things like I say, it wasn't leaked. I simply just tried 1, and there was user ID's 1, full information. Full information, session ID, everything. And this was actually a site-wide issue because every single feature that used encrypted values, and like I say, profile ID, tag ID, thread ID, I think that was photo ID, they were all vulnerable to just simply, I could just use a number. I could edit people's photos, delete photos, change account details, reveal account details. The fix was to actually basically so it basically started rejecting integer values. It would only accept encrypted values. To me, that there might still be a workaround, depending on how they fix that. I don't know. So, lastly, API docs are friends. Now, in this case, a site allowed me to create my own app in the developer portal, and I'll always test for redirect URIs to JavaScript and things like that, because obviously if a user then allows the app, it'll redirect to my XSS, and yeah. But in this case, I had no success with absolutely anything, and I have no drink left. So I logged into my account B and just tested allowing removing the app. Was it runnable to cross-site request forgery and things like that? My battery is running low. That's not good. I'll just quickly plug this in. Like I say, recording this fresh and raw, it doesn't matter. Cool. We're on. So, where was I? Yeah, so I logged into the account B, and tested just allow and removing the app, because like I say, I want to test for is it runnable to cross-site request forgery. Can I force someone to allow my app, which might allow me to reveal information and things like that. But in all honesty, nothing special. Literally nothing special at all. Apart from when I pressed cancel. So when I pressed cancel and it redirected to my website, in Burp, I was like, why is there an access token value in the referrer header? Like, hang on a second here. So I revisited allowing the app and grabbed the URL. It was a very bigger URL, so I didn't actually notice it at first, believe it or not. And yeah, there was an access token parameter in the URL. And I was like, this is odd. What does this token do? Could this be to do with my app? And is this token like not active until they allow it. But is this the actual user's token to my app generated before? This would be very weird if so. So I tried the app, the access token on the API call via my app, and I failed. It said invalid token. It says it wasn't valid, which I thought, okay, that's quite likely because I haven't actually allowed the app. Maybe the token does nothing, like I say. But I thought to myself, no, okay, we'll see what actually happens here. So I went into their API docs and I was reading for what this token does. Is there anything listed for how this token works? Like I say, is it like fired up as such when you press allow? Is it generated that does nothing and then it's like locked down? You press allow and then it's opened up. But according to the API docs, there was another header I could use. Rather than just X app token, I could use X user token. So I thought to myself, maybe the token is actually the user's token, and it's actually nothing to do with my app. I mean, you can probably guess this. Yeah, success. So like I say, the token had nothing, absolutely nothing to do with my app. Even when I allowed the app and then tried the token, it still gave me invalid. I actually had another token generated. So this token was actually the root user token. Why it was in the URL, I don't know. It's been removed now, don't worry, on the website. But pressing cancel and redirecting to my website leaked this token in the referrer header, and I could then use this to basically grab absolutely everything of this user. But the best thing is this token never ever expired, and what's worse is when I was actually Googling around for this certain endpoint, I found that Google had been indexing a lot of people's tokens and they still worked. So that's a double big oops. And instead of the Lucio meme, we've actually got the Mercy meme. Well, not really a Mercy meme as such, but the Mercy image. And that's because for my friend Mish, I said to Emon once on Twitch, who would you rather, a Mercy one trick or a Lucio one trick? And they chose the Mercy one trick. Sad times. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed my talk. And if you have any questions, just join the Discord, which you can find on VIRSECCON.com. And if not, tweet me at zseano. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned some stuff. Thank you.